Hi everyone, my name is Anita. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about the best and worst books of 2020. Now I know I said before in the previous video, link will be down below in the description, that I didn't really want to do this because I just wanted to be a clean slate, and because I didn't really start my YouTube channel until this year, you didn't really know what books I read last year. So I've changed my mind on that, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the books I've read and the best and worst of. This is in no particular order as well, but the first one is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, and it follows three women that are in and around Gilead, the first one being Aunt Lydia. The second woman we follow is a woman from Canada, and the third woman I should say, that we follow is someone who is living in Gilead itself. I have a theory that she is Offred's daughter. It's not explicitly said, but that's just my theory. I'm not going to talk too much about this because it is a little bit spoilery, or it could be a little bit spoilery, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it a little bit more than I did with Handmaid's Tale, and mainly because of the multiple point of view. It's the best, you have to read it to find out why. The second best book of 2020 is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This follows gang rivals, the Socks and the Greases, and is a tale about friendship and family. The characters are great, they are very memorable. Their support and love for one another is just absolutely beautiful. The characters in this book, especially the Greases, who are the main gang family type of group of people that we follow, they don't have the best life, and they are trying their best to get out of the rut or the situation that they are in. And towards the middle of the book, when there was to be this big fight that was going to happen between the two gang rivals, I thought to myself, please don't be just another typical gang fighting violence type of book. And afterwards, when it passed that, I realized there was so much more than that. Especially towards the end of the book, it had some of the most beautiful writing I have ever read in a book. Very emotional, and I still think about it to this day. And the third book that I read, which I think would have to be one of my favorites, I want to reread it just to confirm that it is, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, the author of BookTube and Instagram's darling book, The Night Circus. When Zachary Rowland stumbles across a strange book hidden in his university library, it leads him on a quest like any other. Its pages entrance him with the tales of lovelorn prisoners, lost cities, and nameless acolytes. But they also contain something impossible, a recollection from his own childhood. Determined to solve the puzzle of the book, Zachary follows the clues he finds on the cover: a bee, a key, and a sword. They guide him to a masquerade ball, to a dangerous secret club, and finally through a magical doorway created by the fierce and mysterious Mirabelle. The store leads to a subterranean labyrinth filled with stories hidden far beneath the surface of the earth. When the labyrinth is threatened, Zachary must race with Mirabelle and Dorian, a handsome barefoot man with shifting alliances, through its twisting tunnels and crowded ballrooms, searching for the end of his story. You were invited to join Zachary on the Starless Sea, the home of storytellers, story lovers, and those who will protect their stories at all costs. So, as the book says in the back of the book, it's a stories within stories. The writing is very The writing is very flowery, very descriptive, absolutely beautiful. Some would also call it lyrical as well, which I am quickly realizing that that is some of my favorite styles of writing. And I've heard a lot of people say that really isn't a lot of plot to it, but that could also be because a lot of people may not like the lyrical, flowery writing style of the book. I can understand where they're coming from, but the way I see it, and this is totally my opinion, there are people within the world who would do anything to protect the stories in the Starless Sea, and they are there to collect and protect the stories and the histories, because there was a moment in the book when a woman has said that, I'm trying to think back, a lot of people were too focused on their phones. There's another scene in the story where they are in the Starless Sea, they're in the labyrinth, and it's just basically dwindled down to how it was before, and it's more darker, when before it was like beautiful and rich in color and gold and stuff like that. And my theory for that is people are too focused with phones and the technology that no one really cares to explore other people's stories and histories, because we're too focused on our phones and we're too focused on sharing with people instead of having that kind of intimacy with someone. But that's my understanding of it anyway. That's my theory, that's how I see it. I got very choked up towards the end of this book and I nearly started crying. Like, I could not read the last few pages of this book. This book is very daydreamy to me, very whimsical. Morgenstern is quickly becoming an auto-buy author as well as a favourite author for me. And the fourth best book I read in 2020 is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, the author of the very popular novel Gone Girl. This is the author's debut novel in which Camille Parker, she's either a journalist or a detective or something like that. I think she's more a journalist. She goes back home to investigate the disappearance of two little girls. But in order to solve the mystery of the disappearance of those two little girls, and in order to solve the mystery, she has to travel the past, the puzzle of her past, to solve the case, basically. And major trigger warnings for suicide, self-harm. I think there's like abuse in here as well, so it's a very dark book. Just know before getting into this book. I don't know if you can see her, look at her. She thinks she's a cat. Hey. What you doing? Hey, what you doing? Hello. What do I... You okay? There. You want to lay down? Is that what you wanted? Anyway. I love this book. It's a 5-star read for me. I was a little bit cautious going into Gillian Flynn's other books. I have all of her books. Because Gone Girl was so good, I was just worried that her other books won't live up to the expectation, and my goodness, do they do, especially this one here. I have one last book of hers to read, which is not a Dark Places, but Dark Places. Very well written characters. It's a quick read with hard-hitting theme, and I did not see the twist coming. When it comes to thrillers, I really enjoy dark, unlikable characters. With some of the other thrillers I have read, they just seemed a bit vanilla, and there really wasn't much personality to them. But with Gillian Flynn's books, there always seems to be personality with them. And she does an incredible job at writing characters and hard-hitting themes. Fifth book that I have read in 2020 that is the best of 2020 books. Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. Lydia is dead, but they don't know this yet. So begins this exquisite novel about a Chinese-American family living in 1970s small-town Ohio. Lydia is the favorite child of Marilyn and James Lee, and her parents are determined that she will fulfill the dreams they were unable to pursue. But when Lydia's body is found in the local lake, the delicate balancing act that has been keeping the Lee family together is destroyed, tumbling them all into chaos. Trigger warnings for racism in this book. This is more of a character-driven book than a plot-driven book, and it basically gives an insight into how the death of a beloved family member can affect the whole family. It shows how imperfect people can be, and that what you want for your children may not always be what is best for them. And it also shows and also, oh for goodness sake, I'm doing it again. And it also shows how important it is to love your kids equally and to always support them in what they do. And it also gives a little bit of a glimpse into what life was like for families of immigrant parents and women in the 1970s. And spoiler alert, but not really, because I think we all know it wasn't very good. And the sixth book I read is Dune by Frank Herbert. It's said to be an inspiration for many other sci-fi novels in the genre. This is about a young man or a young teenager, Paul Atreides, whose family has recently come into power of the planet Arrakis when the Emperor transfers the said power that I had just said from House Harkonnen, which is the previous house that came into power and had control over Arrakis, to House Atreides, Paul's family. So naturally the Harkonnens are not very happy that they don't have the power anymore, and in order to still keep their power, they devise a plan to kill Duke Leto Atreides, who was Paul's father, and also to murder Paul as well. So they hatch a bit of a scheme, but Paul and his mother manage to survive, and they flee to where the Fremens live, and from there the Fremens, they capture them. Yes, they capture them, and this is where they learn to, they try and recruit the Fremen to their cause, because they're going to need an army to fight back the Harkonnens. I absolutely loved this book. I can definitely see its influence that it has had on the sci-fi genre and maybe even fantasy genre as well, because I've heard some people say that yes, it's sci-fi, but it also has some fantasy elements, so people have said this is more sci-fi fantasy. The world building is absolutely incredible. It's realistic, it's fully realized, as well as the history, lore, and the religions in this book, or in this world I should say. And I will leave a link down below of another YouTuber who does a lot of sci-fi content. And this person, he does a lot of great Dune content, which ended up putting the book higher up on my list. So be sure to check it out. Link will be in the description down below. And the 7th best book I have read in the year of 2020 is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. What was lost in the collapse? Almost everything. Almost everyone. But there is still such beauty. On a snowy night in Toronto, famous actor Arthur Leander dies on stage whilst performing the role of a lifetime. That same evening, a deadly virus touches down in North America. The world will never be the same again. 20 years later, Kirsten, an actress in the Travelling Symphony, performs Shakespeare in the settlements that have grown up since the collapse. But then her newly hopeful world is threatened. If civilization was lost, what would you preserve? And how far would you go to protect it? Along the lines of The Starless Sea, it has absolutely stunning writing. Also quite lyrical, and there are some chapters where it's just one-page chapters, or just like that. And the beginning of the book does show the events during the virus. And the beginning of the book is a little bit too spot on to the virus, especially now in like today's current world, the current situation with COVID. And I was thinking to myself, oh shit, that's a little bit too close to how it has kind of happened, like in today, in reality, and now not just only in this book as well. I just loved the interconnectedness that a lot of the characters and a lot of the things that have happened in this book have had. Multiple point of view, so you get to see as the virus is happening, before the virus, and also after the virus when everything is basically apocalyptic. People are in just like little claims, and mostly people are living along the coastline because if you go inward, it's said to be quite dangerous. And the main theme in this book is hope. There is one character that has kept a lot of has kept a museum of modern things that he hopes will help people when they are feeling like lost, like they've lost their hope. He kept a lot of the things like a mobile phone, like, where is it? Like your cell phone, your camera, and just like little bits of technology that help people and give them comfort and give them hope that hopefully things will go back to normal one day. The amount of detail that is put in this book, it feels like a longer book, even though it's only like about just like a little after 300 pages. It's still just like amazing, the amount of detail that authors can put in such smaller books. The 8th best book I have read in 2020 is The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. And to sum it up quickly, this is a fictional take on the fictional wife of Jesus. So Jesus is portrayed fictionally here, and I am not a religious person at all. The only time I would ever go to church was because I went and got Chinese food afterwards with my nonna. Like, that was the only time I ever went to church. When it comes to like favorite historical fiction books, it always seems to be that the ones based on religion have been my favorite. That is, the 2 books I'm talking about is this one here, and People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. That's another really good one as well. The thing I love about historical fiction is that you can always tell when an author has done their research, and you can tell when they have such a deep passion and respect and knowledge for the book, well, of the history or the period that, or whatever they're going to be writing about. I used to go to a Catholic school, and this author taught me more about religion and Jesus than that school did. I know I said it's like a fictional take on Jesus, but as I said before, when an author does their research and does it thoroughly and with respect and a great deal of knowledge and passion, and it's done really well, and they can teach you so much about history, and as well as moments in history that you never even knew existed. So please, if you love historical fiction, even if you don't love religion, please read this book. So there are overall 10 best books I have read in 2020, and I'm gonna bundle these last 2 up together, and those books are The Game of Thrones and A Clash of Kings, books 1 and 2 in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I ended up rereading, like I just felt the need to reread the book series after the show ended. That show left me with a gaping hole in my heart. I wasn't as angry as other people seem to be. My anger is reserved for the finale of Dexter, thank you very much. The ending of season 8 of, well, just season 8 in general of Game of Thrones, it just disappointed me. It disappointed me a lot. There were things that I did enjoy about it, but it just mainly disappointed me. And I had been wanting to reread the books for a while, and after the show, I thought, why not just reread it? These books are so nostalgic for me. Loved every minute of it. World building, food, the political intrigue, the characters, it's great. Basically where it starts off, and the events in the first book that basically have a domino effect for the rest of the series, is about the king in Westeros named Robert Baratheon, who visits his childhood, I don't know if they explicitly said childhood, but his best friend Ned Stark, the Lord of Winterfell, to become the king, the hand of the king. King being Robert Baratheon. And then there's a lot of political intrigue, a lot of questioning about suspicion surrounding them, especially the Lannister kids. And when a little spoiled little shit, we all know who the hell I'm talking about, and the events that kick off and have a domino effect on the rest of the series is that spoiled little shit of a fucking boy king does something he shouldn't have fucking done, and domino effect, snowball effect, that's all I'm gonna say. For the worst of 2020, I only have 1 book. I was gonna put another book on there, but that book, it just ended up being just disappointing. And the worst book, I'm actually quite happy that there's only 1 book that made the worst of 2020, and the worst book of 2020 is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. It is the prequel, well, it is a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. Why did this book exist? I don't know why. When I heard that there was going to be a prequel to the Hunger Games, I thought, ooh, yay, goody, we're going to see the war, and how came to be that kids were the ones to do the Hunger Games instead of like adults. It does tell you a little bit about that in A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The fact that there was a movie deal made before the book came out, I'm not looking forward to the book at all. It's either going to be a book or a TV show, and I'm not interested at all. Knowing how bad, at least for me, there are people that really enjoyed the book, and good for you. I'm not saying that sarcastically, I genuinely mean it. Good for you. It's just, I felt like we didn't need it from the point of view of, what's his face? President Snow. I feel like we didn't need it, didn't really serve its purpose. I would have been more interested in looking at the war that changed the events, why there was such a rebellion against the capital in the first place to create this war that was talked about. I'm just, oh man. Like, there was like one thing that I liked in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that was the fact that we get to see like an archaic version, an older, more gladiator type style of the Hunger Games. And I really liked that. It reminded me of Gladiator a lot because it was just like in this amphitheater type of thing. You get to see the inner workings of how, like if it's getting really dark, I apologize. I think there might be a cloud coming over. It was really interesting to see how the Hunger Games came to be the Hunger Games in the books as well as the movies. So that was only one good thing about it. But on to the worst things. Characters, horrible, did not like them at all. Wasn't needed. And I've heard people say that the last 20 or 50 or whatever so pages were really good, and that, yeah, the rest of the book was shit, but up to like the last few pages or so it was good. I read those last few pages because I kind of DNF'd it towards the end, and yeah, it wasn't good. It was not good at all. I don't have the book on my shelves, thank goodness, because just looking at it on my shelves next to other books that I absolutely love or really enjoyed, it was a disgrace, and it was a bit insulting to have that book next to them. So I don't have it on my shelves anymore, and I feel so much better for doing that. And for me to only have one book on my worst of the year, that goes to show you how many other books I have read that I absolutely really enjoyed. So that's a good thing. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, give it a like. Make sure you leave a subscribe. I'm sure you don't want to miss out on any content from myself. And leave a comment down below on what your best and worst books were for the year of 2020. Really sorry if I don't really look that good. It's not even about looking good, it's just me not looking that good, because I actually don't really feel good either. I don't know what it is. I was fine before, but then I came in here and I felt really ugh. It's because I'm in this little corner and I feel a bit hot. I don't know why. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!